Hi, I'm Kevin Skidmore. I'm the owner of 440 Trucking and also of 16th Phase Diesel. 440 Trucking is actually a second chance employer that hires returning citizens. The company was named after Senate Bill 440, which allows us to give individuals that are returning from incarceration a true second chance at life. Also, 16th Phase Diesel is our repair arm of 440, where we repair the trucks. We fix them. We also hire mechanics that are returning citizens as well. So that's pretty much what we do. I've been in this work for a while, so we just try to employ those who actually do need the help.
Good morning. My name is Donna Mullins. I'm Vice President of Kale Info Solutions.
My name is Patrick Smith. I'm currently a Regional Community Relations Manager with UPS. Certainly enjoy what I do. I've been born and raised in Atlanta, more so over on the east side, Decatur, where it's greater. And have certainly enjoyed growing up in Atlanta, learning about Atlanta, and excited about its future. And I'm glad to play a piece, a small part, very, very small part in the future development of youth in Atlanta and helping everyone to thrive for a more equitable city. So super excited to be here.
Tell us about your career path and how did you end up in your current role?
My career path started at Trojan Battery. And then about 5 years later, I moved into management. Once I moved into management, a friend of mine introduced me to trucking. And he asked me, did I want to, get involved and invest? And I said, yes. When I started my trucking company in 2014, I started it with the idea to hire individuals like myself who have been justice impacted. And since then, that's what we've been doing. So I got into trucking. There's a friend of mine who just was doing it already. I got in, but I saw a pathway for other individuals like myself to get a true livable wage once they are released. But also, you don't have to be somebody who's reaching a release. It can be anybody who has a CDL. We want to give them a true chance at a livable wage. And that's how I got into trucking. And I actually don't drive. I can't drive not one of these trucks.
I started my career very early in my age. I was 18 years old when I started working for an importer, and I worked my way up the ladder, so to speak. I worked for an importer. Then I went to work for our customs broker. From there, I continued to work my way up the ladder to the point where I owned my own 3PL company, Alpha Sun International. I owned it for 12 years. I sold it and started a consulting company, Mullins International Solutions. And that was where I was introduced to Kale Info Solutions. I was their consultant for 2 years, and they asked me to open their USA operation. I am a licensed customs broker. I lovingly tell everyone that I am a recovering customs broker because I don't do customs brokerage any longer. I consult on customs brokerage, and I help set up software that helps the logistics industry.
Sure. It's maybe relevant or not relevant, but I think it's good for and for storytelling purposes. I originally started off as a professional athlete. I didn't make it to the big leagues in the Major League Baseball organization. I was drafted out of high school to the Detroit Tigers and enjoyed my time in the minor league system. And so for those of you out there who have aspirations of playing in the sports world and becoming a professional athlete, or if your dreams are really, really big, whatever that is, just because that dream doesn't work out doesn't mean you can't take on another dream, which is what I've done. So I went to Georgia State University, and one of my first jobs outside of minor league baseball was UPS. I bought into the idea that I could grow within a company that was a Fortune 50 company. Obviously, UPS is global, certainly a leading in the transportation industry here in the States. And I knew it was a stable company, and I could have a very diverse learning experience within such a large company. So that's what I did. I started out part-time package handlers, loading and unloading trucks like many UPSers before me did, and worked my way up through the company. My next job was in HR. I was a part-time human resources supervisor where I was staffing and workforce planning. So I was the ones then hiring for the job that I used to have, right? I started hiring package handlers for all sorts throughout the day. And I grew into HR. I spent about 2 years. I did move into a full-time role, still within HR. Got to open up the Smart Hub facility, which is located right here in Atlanta, right off Fourty Industrial, there on the west side of Atlanta. That is our second largest ground facility, and a lot of learning curves there. But I rode those learning curves, the good and the bad and the ugly, because they were all learning experiences, which has positioned me well for the career I'm in now, which is community relations. And I didn't seek this out. It wasn't like I wanted to go into the field of corporate philanthropy. I'll be honest with you, I did not know that that was an actual thing. I knew people gave to, and people and organizations gave to, other organizations, nonprofits, and to schools and to workforce development programs. I knew that, but I didn't know that that was an actual job, like that was an actual business unit, a structure. But little by little, I think my talent started to dictate what my career path was going to be. And the talent that I already had, the talent I continued to develop, led me into being a community relations manager and managing a portfolio, managing millions of dollars. I don't say that boastfully because obviously it's not my money, but it is the money of UPS, and they've decided to use some of the profits that we make to empower and uplift the community of Atlanta and across the entire world, right, globally. And I'm glad to play a piece of that. So it was a trajectory. Didn't know it was going to come, but I did continue to move in an idea that I have to go after the next thing, right? I never became complacent. And that's certainly something that I would give as an advice. So it's been a long ride, but it's been a good ride.
What is it like working in transportation, distribution, and logistics? What is the culture like in TDL?
The transportation industry is tough. It's actually unregulated. In a sense, there almost is no rules for characteristics. But what we try to do is train our drivers to have good personalities when going to the shippers and receivers, because driving is actually only 10% of the job. A lot of the job is customer service, pre-planning, checking the trucks. It's a lot of other stuff that comes along with trucking, but also it really do emphasize on character development, because your characters can, almost make or break you in the trucking business. For example, a DOT officer pulls you over, your attitude is going to determine how far he's going to go. Or even with the shipper or receiver, sometimes your attitude could be bad and they don't want to load you. So we do work on character development, which a lot of companies don't do. But we really, really work on that because we understand how much success is tied to that.
It's everything because it is international. And that's the one thing that I really love about the transportation and logistics industry, is that it does cross borders. And you do get an opportunity to meet people from all over the world, different cultures. That can be a challenge sometimes because every culture is not the same, and some countries do things differently than we do here in the United States. But it's still also very interesting to get to know other people, the way other people live, and what other people thrive for when you're working with these various cultures. So it's not just about moving products, it's about getting to know other people as well.
So working in transportation and logistics, I will say, because again, working in operations and then moving into HR, and even now in the public affairs or community relations work, corporate affairs that I do, we still have the same mindset. And the mindset is to work efficiently as possible. Effective and efficient, right? I notice a lot of times those two words are used together when describing how to make things better, right? Transportation and logistics, timing is everything. We try to limit the amount of time that it takes to move a product from A to B, right? Everybody knows UPS, right? The brown trucks that comes and delivers, at your homes, all of the great customers we have, whatever you're ordering, right? If it's a jacket, a shirt, a phone, right? Shoes, whatever it may be. When the customer orders something, technically they want it on their doorstep, like in the next 10 minutes if they could, right? And so we take that on as a challenge. And every single day and every single meeting that is being conducted, specifically inside the operations where the logistics of transportation really takes place inside of our warehouses, how we move a package safely, right, from the inbound, we call inbound when their packages are coming into the warehouse, and all the way to outbound, where the packages are then being placed on the truck to then leave. It's efficiency. We want to move that package as quickly as possible, as safe as possible, because when we do that, it's able to get to your doorstep. So when you're looking at, some of the things that you're good at, right? When considering careers, a very specific skill is being able to identify a problem and provide a quick and efficient solution. Everybody can point out a problem, right? And then there are some people that can point out the solution. But then there are people who are really good at identifying the best solution, right? And how can I find the most efficient way? What is taking additional time for this package to move through our logistics and our systems? How can I limit that, right? What can I remove? What can I fix? What can I, pull? What can I place in? What can I add? What can I subtract? And that's a constant, I say every day, but that's almost like an every hour type conversation. So it is an industry that the demand is always there. Because whatever you have in your home, right? A truck brought it to you, or it came across the ocean liner, right? The freights. Something has to get to you for you to use it, right? No matter what you're doing in life. And most times that's on the back of a truck. And UPS, we certainly are leaders in that industry, simply because we find out how to do it in the most effective and efficient way possible. Teamwork, my goodness, it takes a lot of people to get that box on your doorstep. It is not an easy feat. Although it may look fairly simple, it's like, oh, the package is here. I just ordered something earlier today, and I'm like, great, it got here. But I know in the back of my mind how much it took to get that package on my doorstep. And if it's not for teamwork, if it's not for trying to be efficient and effective as possible, it wouldn't happen. So that is certainly something that the industry is doing and continuously doing the more and more e-commerce continues to boom.
What traits and skills do you think are necessary to succeed in TDL?
To succeed in trucking, pretty much you have to just be willing to work, willing to drive. I would say be a person of integrity and responsibility, because you're driving this truck that's pulling, 50,000 pounds. It's what they call like a missile on wheels. So you have to be somebody who's responsible with a high level of integrity and take your job really, really serious. As a CDL holder, they're considered professional drivers. So you want to be a professional driver when you're behind that wheel. So we definitely require people, great integrity and high levels of accountability.
I say this all the time. Every time I am asked that question, tenacity and the willingness to learn. In the transportation and logistics industry, it is a 7/24 industry. It's constantly moving. Planes are constantly flying. Vessels are constantly coming across the ocean. So there's always some type of movement going on with information, documentation, or the cargo. So you definitely have to have tenacity. You have to be able to understand that this is not just a 9-to-5 job. It can be 9 to 5, depending on what your respective responsibilities are. But for the most part, you have to remember that when you clock out at 5 o'clock, other countries are still moving freight. And when you're sleeping, other countries are still moving freight. On the flip side, when you're awake, some other countries are asleep too, so they're taking their time off. But it is a constantly moving, fluid industry. And willingness to learn. Speaking of fluid industries, the regulations are constantly changing within the international transportation and logistics arena. So you always have to be willing to learn something new. The way you do it today could change tomorrow with an executive order, with a new law, with Congress looking at something different. TSA issues something called executive amendments regularly to regulate the way cargo flies. So there's always constant learning that has to go on. Tenacity, willingness to learn, and you can go a long way in the TDL industry.
There's this phenomenon that there's like soft skills aren't as important as hard skills, right? Hard skills, of course, those who can do math, right? Those who can work with engineering, right? Those who can create something out of nothing, right? Those are hard skills, right? And then soft skills are teamwork. Can you work together? Can you build something with another person? Can you make this thing and then pass it to another person? Can you communicate well, right? They'll say, oh, those are soft skills, but those are still quality skills that are beneficial for conducting the work. So when I look at the skill sets, right, if I look at just the areas of study, obviously engineering is always key for us when we build warehouses, right? When we are building the machinery that moves the packages, you think of the conveyor belts, right? That all moves in one direction. You think of the scanners that has to scan the packages. You think of what we call, which is really unique, kind of a new technology to UPS over the past maybe 5 or 7 years. We call them shoe sorters, right? They're the ones that actually moves the packages, little hockey puck type instruments that moves the packages to the right aisles, right? So that the package can go throughout the rest of the hub, right? So it's an entire matrix that happens once a package enters into the warehouse. And the only thing that makes that works are engineers, right? Our software engineers, plant engineers who are very, very smart, very, very articulate into making machinery work, right? Industrial engineers, right? Those who can forecast an entire flow chart, right? And I don't mean to use too much jargon, but it takes a lot to go into how to move, close to 7 to 8 million packages a day across just even the US, right? Millions and millions of packages are being moved, and we need somebody who can conceptualize that, right, in their minds, and that is a skill set, industrial engineering, i.e. So we hire a lot of plant engineers, we hire a lot of industrial engineers. Those are very, 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 very niche skill sets that all logistic companies, right, wants to seek after, and they're all in the same direction. Again, trying to work efficient and effective as possible, trying to move a package quicker than we moved it yesterday. Teamwork, right? Again, another one of the soft skills. There could be at the Smart Hub facility, just as an example here in Atlanta, is our second largest ground facility. That's about 4,500 people that are working inside of that warehouse. It's kind of on a 24-hour loop. 4,500 people kind of split up amongst 3 to 4 sorts a day. But it's thousands of people working on a minute by minute, hour by hour basis. If something goes wrong on one side of the building, you're going to need teamwork and teammates to come and help you correct the issue or fix the issue. If there is somebody, another belt goes down on the other end of the hub, or if you don't have that many people that day, right, you're going to need other people to put in extra work. You're going to need to be on calls every single time something happens. So teamwork, it may just sound like a very cliche type saying, right, inside the workforce. But you have to know how to work with others. You have to know how to communicate with others. You have to learn how to get along with others. Again, another soft skill, right? You don't have to like people at work. I heard a lot of people say that in the corporate world. You don't have to like me. You just respect me. It's like, yes, absolutely, respect is there. But when you're likable, it does make it easier to work with. And when something is easy, it's a little bit more efficient like. So those are some skill sets that, I believe can work in all areas in transportation and logistics.
How do you see TDL changing over the next few years?
I see the industry changing towards more drivers coming. I look at the future of the industry, whereas more drivers will be just as impacted drivers, because the way the generations have changed, younger people really don't want to drive right now. That's not something they want to do. So I see a lot of just as impacted individuals driving. And I also, you have the, introduction of the electric trucks, but that's still quite a few years out. I don't really see it changing a whole lot as far as work, because honestly, the lazier people get, the more these trucks gonna run. Because, like we pull a lot of Amazon loads and everybody has Amazon on their phone. So I don't see it changing too much as far as productivity. I see it actually getting busier.
Wow. AI really is becoming a very, very large part of transportation and logistics industry. I mean, look, we have self-driving vehicles now, right? Self-driving trucks that are being tested out in the west of the United States. Also, AI is really helping to identify and profile products that could be volatile coming into the United States. So I really see a change mostly in the way we use technology to make our products coming into the United States come in more efficiently, come in more effectively, and hopefully at the end of the day be a lot safer when they arrive.
So it's an excellent question. The industry changing over the next few years, technology has since the invention of fire, right? That was early technology in those days, and all the way up until today, where you can do almost anything from your phone, right? That's technology then. That's technology now. What the change of the logistics and transportation industry is going to be, how do I anticipate the next new technology that's going to be impactful 10 years from now? Again, e-commerce continues to boom, and ordering things just from your phone, from your laptop, and wanting it on your doorstep as soon as possible. It's gonna have to be a lot of R&D or research and development into running more efficiently, right? We now, again, going back to my example, we have these shoe sorters, and then again, little hockey puck type instruments. They actually can move the package faster, right? We didn't have that 5 years ago, 7 years ago, right? And we had it in some buildings, but now it's in all of our buildings, right? We now have a machinery that can scan a package more efficiently than a human can, right? When I worked at UPS, I used to have a scanner. I used to wear it on the top of my 2 fingers here, and I would scan a package. And over time, that does take time. Sometimes I may miss a scan, and that stays between us. But when I do, that creates error, right? Well, now we have this new beautiful technology. It's a 6-sided scanner. It can scan all sizes of the packages at 99.9% efficiency rate, right? And that just creates less human error, so that package can get to you on time. So those few instruments, right, that may seem small inside of the warehouse, but it certainly helps us conduct things faster. The other thing is obviously our, how do we move a package more sustainable? And we have big sustainable goals, right? Trying to be conscious and aware of how we're able to support our environment, right? Support those around us in a way that it does not allow our business, right, to be too harmful, right? And we're brilliant at that. Again, one of the leading companies in the industry in doing just that. So those two things, again, technology is going to continue to be a huge proponent. People and more people wanting their package faster and faster and faster, right? Quicker and quicker. That's always going to be at the top of our minds. How can we continue to limit errors? How can we continue to work more efficiently? And technology is going to continue to help us in that way. Healthcare is another, industry that's continuing to boom as well, in terms of the transportation of the needed items, right? That healthcare has to ship, cold chains, right? You have to build certain instruments that can maintain shipping, vials or medicine from one place to the next, and so creating those so that we can get these healthcare products to those in need. That's going to continue to be the change in the next 10 to 15 years, and we're already looking, through that lens as well.
What advice do you have for those who are just starting out in TDL?
Those just starting out in trucking, one, be humble. You will not make a lot of money when you first start out. The first 2 years, you have to pay your dues. Be humble, learn as much as you can. Don't be the person that knows everything. No one knows everything. Just be humble, gracious, and learn as much as you can. Learn as much as you can. Pay attention to detail. When I say pay attention to detail, the smallest things can make a difference. For example, drivers will skip out on their pre-trips for the truck. But skipping out on that pre-trip, that small 15 minutes that you skip out on, you might not notice that a hose could be leaking coolant. And as soon as you start driving and get 30 miles up the interstate, now you have a coolant leak, and now you have to pull over, now the truck is broken down. But that could have been prevented by taking that small amount of time to just check the truck out in your pre-trip. So pay attention to details. In trucking, the devil is in the details. I would say that, a CDL holder is like having a gold card. Trucking will never go away. The reason why I'm in it and won't get out of it, because it's recession proof. When these trucks stop running, life as we know it will cease. So it's going to be an industry that's always going to be in demand for drivers. So as long as you have a CDL and you take care of your CDL, you never have to worry about work. So to me, that's a plus, because it's, again, recession proof. Whether we go through wars, famine, whatever we go through, COVID, whatever, in COVID, we were busier than ever. So again, I think that it's a good industry to be in, and it's going nowhere.
Run, don't walk. And what I mean by that is, once you've been handed that pylon, you take it and you run with it. If you're given that opportunity, don't just lounge around and take it easy and say, hey, I've got a job. There's a very big difference in a job and a career. I would encourage each and every one of you that when you decide to go into the TDL industry, that you choose it as a career and you treat it as a career. Because once you massage your career will grow. If you just treat it like a job, that's all it will ever be.
I would say, first, don't be limited, right? Don't think that transportation and logistics just means, driving a truck from one place to the next, right? Which is what I thought about UPS when I first joined. I was like, oh, it's a brown truck. They get the package and they drop it off at my home, right? I thought that going in. And then when I saw the massive amount of people, the business units, right? Things that you would not have thought of. We used to say we're a package company using, technology. Now we say we're a technology company that's helping to move our package, right? And so in technology, I need brilliant minds. I need people who can work with robots, right? I need people who can, knows how to work with drones, or know how to operate it, knows how to build it, because that is in our future, right? Delivering a package by drone to some of the areas that trucks or cars can't get to. So never limit yourself. One. Secondly, again, always never limit yourself, even in the role that you're in, right? So if you're in logistics and you're plan engineering, right, which just means you're making sure that the hub runs efficiently, take it a step further, right? Go take the initiative to say, hey, I realize that these packages over here are moving efficiently, but the packages over there aren't moving as efficiently. Let me go over there and see what the problem is. Always be curious. Be curious, because you never know some of the smallest things that takes place that could help a sort run more efficiently, right? More effectively. I'll give a short example. My previous manager was working in a hub one time. They were a hub supervisor, and they realized it was a very long fence that went all the way from one side of the hub to the other side of the hub. And the packages would have to go around that fence. And that had been that way for a couple of years, and nobody said anything, nobody did anything. But the supervisor at the time was very curious and said, "Why is this fence here?" Right? And she asked her management team, and everybody kind of looked around and was like, "Well, that fence was there from 10 years ago because of whatever reason the fence was there." And she was like, "Okay, but that was 10 years ago. It's no longer being used. We're no longer doing it that way." And she said everybody in the room looked around and was like, "Well, I don't know why the fence is here now." And she was like, "Can we just take it down?" And she had to develop a business plan and all these good things for it. But eventually the fence came down. What happened when that big fence came down inside the warehouse? Well, now the packages can get to the other side of the facility in 12 minutes faster, right? You say that's just 12 minutes, but you take 12 minutes every 30 minutes or so, right? You've just limited the time, by 14 or so minutes, or whatever that math is. And you do that over the span of a day, over the span of a week, over the span of a month, over the span of a year. It's great, right? So always be curious, always take the initiative, because again, keeping the top of your mind, if you're going into transportation and logistics, no matter what field you're in, you're trying to figure out, how can I make us run more effectively, more efficiently than we did on yesterday?